Previously on Lone Hunter. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to level all the way to level 60 in WoW Classic using only common items? Yeah, me neither. I started my journey in a classic way, slaughtering some cats, boars and whatever other weird creatures were wandering around. Luckily, I managed to get some kind of plants pretty quickly. Goodbye, Alasko. You were a wonderful companion. Eventually, I hit level 10, which means I can finally start putting points into my specialization tree. I decided to begin with Monster Slaying, which once maxed out gives a whopping 3% extra damage against beasts, giants and dragon skin targets. For now, everything was going according to plan, though honestly that was mostly thanks to the buff I still had, but as it turned out, before leaving Darnassus, I couldn't get rid of it anyway, so it actually worked out perfectly since I planned to disable it after leaving the zone. I'm not really sure why I asked you at the end of the last video whether I should use a pet or not. First of all, I didn't expect that episode to reach any audience, and second, I was so excited to continue this series that I started working on the next part the very next day after uploading the first one. So I picked up the quest from Dazalar and started taming pets. First a spider, then a Nightsaber Stalker, and finally an owl that completed the quest. And I decided that for now I want to stick with the owl, so I tamed one for myself. Unfortunately, she's nameless at the moment, so if you have any ideas, feel free to leave your suggestions in the comments. Unfortunately, this is where my problems began. The owl eats only meat, so her diet shouldn't be an issue, right? But was it really that simple? At first, I completely forgot that in vanilla you actually have to feed your pet, so I didn't notice that sad little frog icon next to her health bar and went straight to Darnassus to pick up quest and sell junk. I also finished the Hunter quest that gave me the Train Pet ability, which lets you teach your pet new skills. The other ability I learned was Feed Pet, which made me realize I had waited way too long to turn that quest in. To my misfortune, my bags were nearly empty of anything edible. I quickly turned in another quest for Fandral, which rewarded me with a better bow, and then went hunting for meat. I started killing animals that I thought would drop it, like Nightsabers or maybe other owls, but of course, the only creatures that actually dropped meat were spiders. Sadly, my luck was terrible and the drop rate was awful. She might have been starving, but honestly, it didn't stop her from tanking for me. Together, we even managed to defeat Grimclaw and finish the Furry questline, but despite all my effort, the owl eventually decided she'd had enough of this idiot and ran away. I caught another owl and immediately headed back toward the city to finally buy her something to eat. On the way I tried hunting spiders again, hoping for even a scrap of meat, but of course my luck was non-existent. I wouldn't be myself if I didn't make a quick detour to turn in a quest that rewarded me an uncommon item. Naturally, I picked the one I could sell for the highest price. As I mentioned in the first episode, I've been a horde enjoyer for years, so my knowledge of this area, let's just say it isn't my strongest asset, which is exactly why I wandered around like an idiot, checking vendors who obviously didn't sell meat. There is someone in Darnassus who sells nothing but that precious resource, but even with the map marker telling me I was in the right place, I simply couldn't find him. I was so frustrated, I genuinely considered continuing my adventure petless. And to make things worse, my second owl ran away too, right as the meat vendor casually strolled past me like it was the most normal thing in the world. Every other vendor stands in the same spot for eternity, but this one decided to take a scenic walk around the city. I bought a ton of meat, sold everything I possibly could, and finally felt prepared to tame another owl. This one I caught quickly and I immediately started feeding her. We headed north and at this point I felt like I was repeating myself. The quest technically told different stories, but in practice I was back to killing timberlings, spiders and oversized cats. Buff or no buff, this was also the moment when I genuinely felt my character getting stronger and I realized I was nearing the end of my journey through this beautiful forest. All that was left was the local spider matriarch, who, for the record, died so fast she basically fell on her back by herself. After that, I returned to Darnassus to turn in everything I could. I also abandoned a quest that wanted me to run all the way back across half the map. At that point, I knew it was finally time to move on. I wrapped things up by completing the fastest quest in the entire zone, tossing an offering into the Moonwell below that pushed me to level 13, rewarded me with boots with a staggering +1 armor, and let me finish the final point in Monster Lane. With a slightly healthier budget, I bought a new staff and set off for Darkshaw. And just like that, the magic of the enchanted forest, the walking trends, the serene waterfalls, the sparkling pools of life vanished, and our elf finally stepped into the dirtier, darker side of the world. I started off by knocking out a few quests in the new zone, and as I promised, finally got rid of the buff that carried me through the early part of this journey. I immediately tested how things would feel without it, and yeah, it's a lot worse now. Well, worse meaning the fights just take longer, not necessarily harder, just slower. Still, the zone felt refreshing, a complete shift from the vibrant magical forest I had just left behind. Between killing crabs, I also stumbled upon a few mysterious creatures washed up on a shore, which added a nice touch to the whole vibe. Once I reached Auberdine, I realized there was something I'd completely ignored. Something I thought I didn't need, but at this stage could have boosted my budget and given me access to a better gear and upgrades. So I went back to Darnassus and trained skinning and leatherworking. While I was already in the city, I also picked up cooking because who knows, maybe one day it'll actually be useful. Before leaving, I bought 2 of the cheapest bags I could find. Gathering materials fills up your inventory ridiculously fast. Since my skinning level was way too low to skin anything in Darkshaw, I spent some time around Darnassus gathering the materials I need. When I returned to Darkshaw, I went right back to hunting, this time tracking down the local Loch Ness rejects. Killing these creatures took quite a bit of time, and I also had to be careful not to drown in the process. On the bright side, they can be skinned. I managed to carve up the remains of yet another underwater beast and finally completed the dinosaur water monster whatever quest. Next up on the hit list were the Banshees. I spent a while here mainly because the quest item had a terrible drop rate, but I did manage to take down 3 enemies at once, which honestly showed me that Walter isn't as weak as I expected, even while using only common gear. What really elevated this part of the journey was the incredible ambient track, the same one you usually hear when your character dies. Surrounded by ghosts, infected wildlife and dying trees, it added so much atmosphere to the whole trek through this gloomy corner of the world. I hit level 14 here and decided that the next 3 talent points would go into Humanoid Lane, which works exactly like Monster Lane, just for humanoid targets this time. The Banshee quest was simple, pleasant, and with that phenomenal soundtrack in the background, honestly kind of relaxing. I'll take you further in the next episode where hopefully we'll be getting close to our first dungeon. Take care and see you in the next one.